Great.
We have a munchkin showing up soon. I see.
Oh yeah, he's coming.
See what that was.
Right?
Great. I think we are, yeah, we're live on YouTube. We're
Hey.
live on Zoom.
You had me, Jay La Cañada. Now I don't see my face.
That's no problem. We're hiding the people, we're hiding the panelists until they have a question, if they have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. Thanks everybody for being here. I am just letting people into the waiting room on Zoom. I'm a little overwhelmed by how many people have come to this. It's really exciting. So let me make sure got this all going. All right, we're gonna get started. Jen, if you could focus on letting people in for the next few. Great. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to see so many people here. Thank you so much for being here. So my name is Amir Talai. This is part of a series that we're calling You Are the Union. And first thing I want to do is introduce the faces on your screen. Like I said, I'm Amir Talai. I'm a SAG-AFTRA delegate. I am on the National Equal Employment Committee, the Commercial Performers Committee, and the Local Government Committee. And you might have seen me in LA to Vegas or my hilarious Starburst commercial. We also have Tiffany Yvonne Cox. She is an LA local board member. She's on the LA Women's Committee, the National Next Generation Performers Committee, and you might know her from Space Force or Grey's Anatomy. And then Michelle Hurd is a national board member, a founding member of Time's Up New York. And you might know her from Star Trek Picard and Blind Spot. Just wanted to let you know sort of what our sort of areas of interest are at the union, so to give you a sense of like what questions you might have for us going forward. So this is something that some of us have wanted to do going back at least a few years, which is to get elected leaders in the room with other members to sort of bridge the gap a little bit, right? There's this feeling that there's the union and then there's members. And it's really, really important to remember that you are the union, right? The union is not a corporation like Disney or Walmart. It's us. It's you and me, right? And if you want to change things at the union, you have the power to get involved, right? Whether it's volunteering, giving feedback to staff and leaders, or just getting more informed about it, right? Come to meetings, whatever, and then advocating for your fellow members out in the world. So I want to be clear about something. The three of us are not appearing here in an official capacity, okay? Once the union has money flowing in like before, I would love to have something like this happen through official channels. But for us, right now, it's just us doing it, right? We've been elected to various positions, but we don't have the authority to speak on behalf of the union, right? We're just here as ourselves. So, the downside to that is we may not always have the answers to your questions, but if we don't, we will help you look for the answers. We may not always be able to act immediately on any ideas that you have, but I can tell you that hearing your feedback is what makes us better leaders, right? Better able to represent you. And the other good news is, since we're not here in any official capacity, we can actually be a little more candid with our thoughts, right? So here's how it's going to work. If you have a question that you want to ask or a comment about something that you would like to see changed or implemented, go ahead and put it in the chat box, either on Zoom or in YouTube. And then Jen Levin, another LA delegate, she's going to get them to me to read. If you want to ask your question on video, just let Jen know in the chat. And then you have to be on Zoom. You can't do that from YouTube. If you're on YouTube, the Zoom link is in the description. And feel free to really ask us anything, right? It can be directly union related, but it doesn't have to be. And while the general theme of today's live stream is diversity, inclusion, and Black Lives Matter, basic this whole moment that we're in right now, feel free to ask us about other stuff as well, okay? All three of us have a lot going on, right? And then finally, I wanna let everyone know that we're recording this and posting it later. So if you don't want to have your question asked publicly, feel free to DM me on Instagram. I'm open, okay? So as your questions come in, I'm gonna go ahead and ask the first question to Tiffany and Michelle, and that is, how are you doing today? And what made you want to participate in this conversation today? Oh, you're muted, Michelle. Can I unmute you? There we go.
You have to.
I'll unmute you. There we go.
Yeah, thanks.
Great.
There we go.
Go ahead.
There we go. Great.
So let's see. How am I today? I am, as I can only think, a lot of my brothers and sisters out there are feeling very emotional. I find myself, I think I've said this to Amir already, that I find myself stumbling between uncontrollable rage and uncontrollable sadness and tears. It's a really challenging time. I want to think of it as a pivotal time and that we will be making a change. But it's hard when we've been trying to do this for centuries, right? The only thing that I'm heartened with now that's different than before is the huge numbers of non-Black and brown people who are protesting and presenting themselves as allies and acknowledging the travesties that have been happening to people of color for years, for decades. But yeah, that's how I'm really happy to be here with you guys. I hope that we can have a really creative and interesting conversation. I hope that you guys can enlighten me to some stuff. Hopefully I can enlighten you to some stuff. But when you want to know how I'm feeling, that's how I'm feeling right now. What about you, Tiffany?
Thank you. Oh, did I?
It's okay. I muted myself because of the baby. So
There's a baby right there.
Yeah, there's a baby right there. I am a whole box of tricks right now. I've entered into motherhood during this pandemic. We're in a pandemic, which is one level of isolation. Being a Black female is another level of isolation. And now we're in this space of protests and rage and injustice and explaining myself and re-explaining myself and justifying for myself. So encompassing all of that, it's a heavy time. It's a very heavy time. I'm beyond thankful for this platform because when I learned that Amir and Jen were putting this on, immediately I was like, hey guys, we need to talk about this. Like, it's been beautiful that our union put out statements. We're seeing companies put out statements, which is awesome, and that's the first step. And the next step is engaging in conversation and in action. And another reason why I really appreciate this platform is this idea of we are the union. So when we're seeing an issue, that's why I became a board member. I was like, when we see an issue, let's stand up and do something about it. So having the ability to, this ain't new. I'm Black, so I've been talking about this for forever. But like Michelle noted, it is empowering to see how many allies we have, new allies that are coming in, and seeing that there's a possibility of us taking a step forward. I'm trying to remain positive and say that it's gonna be, it's stepping stones every time. So that's where I'm at right now. Yes, sir, in Denmark too. This is Denmark, everyone, my beautiful son. Say a quick hi, baby. I said at least I would show him to the world for a second. Yes. All right, come on back.
There you go. Okay, so let's see. First person I see is Katie Von Til. Her hand is raised, which I think means that she's going to come off mute and be on video. So hi, Katie, how are you?
Hi, I'm well. Sorry for looking like total trash right now. I have zit stickers all over my face, but I wanted to show my face just because I think this is such an important conversation that you guys are having. And I want to thank you all for putting this on and starting this conversation today. I'm Amir, I think I mentioned this to you the other day, but I have bringing it to the acting world, or, so many of us these days are trying to not only be actors, but also be content creators and writers and producers and things like that, particularly as women in this business, as we age, right? We have to think of ways that we can stay in this business. And I've been talking a lot with friends about the idea of colorblind casting. I came up in the theater world where colorblind casting became a real thing. And I almost wonder if, I'd love for you guys to discuss sort of the difference between colorblind casting and maybe color conscious casting. I feel like colorblind casting is a wonderful ideal, but I wonder if by some reason that means like erasing. I don't want to erase anybody's color, and I'd love to hear from actors of color what your thoughts are regarding that issue. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Katie. All right, I'm unmuting actually both of you. Great. Is that working? Yeah.
Yes, it's working for me. I think Yvette,
Okay.
Tiffany, did you probably put your own mute on, right? Because
There we go. Yeah.
Hi, baby. Sorry, I got baby eyes there. Thank you for the really important
Hey, Jacob,
question.
please.
I have a few things to say to that. One of the things about scripts that has always been a frustration for me is that when people write scripts, generally speaking, the scripts that I've read are from predominantly white writers, right? So when I read this script, I'm looking at the script and I'm reading it, and it has, Tom's da-da-da, and Dick said this, and Mary said that, and Sarah said that. And then all of a sudden it says, Juan, Latino man. And then it says, Lakeisha, Black girl. And the thing that's really frustrating and in a way very dismissive is that the writer is assuming that I am seeing the world through a white eye. When I read a script and I read Mary, Sarah, Kate, I think that she could be me until you guys say, no, it's actually Lakeisha who's you. So what's frustrating is that, I always say my husband, who's an actor and a white man, I always say, you're in every single script. Every single script you are in, every single script, even a Black script you're in, because they're going to put a fucking, a white person. Sorry, I will try not to curse. I am a New Yorker, so apologies in advance. But myself, I'm not in every script. I'm only in the script if they put it there. So the whole concept of colorblind or color conscious, whatever we refer to it now, I'd almost want you to make a choice between one or the other. Like, write every single person's ethnicity. That means Tom, white, Mary, white, Sarah, white, and then or don't write anybody's ethnicity and let us, and open it up. That's one option that I love. The other is, if you want to embrace, and we want you to embrace our rhythms, our perspectives, I would highly recommend, talking to people of color and getting some more authentic feedback on how you're writing their perspective and their speech. Because, I'm sure Tiffany can say it as well. We both gotten scripts and sides and stuff where like baby and girl are in the wrong place. You're like, hey girl, how you do? Or I can't even fucking do it. But like when it's in the wrong place, you're like, who wrote this? That's not my rhythm at all. So, we I don't want to erase anything. As a native New Yorker, it frustrated me that films that were shot after the towers went down, they wanted to, take the towers out digitally because they thought it would cause pain. Those towers were part of my upbringing. I want it to be there so that we remember. The same thing with people of color. I don't want you to erase us. God, no. I want you to embrace us, and embrace us either by acknowledging that everybody's a different, ethnicity, and writing it that way so that we don't feel marginalized, or don't write any of that and let us bring our own energy and rhythm to any of the characters that you are portraying.
And,
Right.
and if I could jump in, Tiffany, what I'd love to add is if if you cast someone who is a Middle Eastern person, right, in the role of Andrew Dougal, right, because it doesn't matter and he could be anything. For me, I'd love for you to consider changing that character name to something that suits my ethnicity a little more, right? So that maybe you can see the character of this, say he's a software executive, right? Who is born and raised in America. And if you wrote him as Andrew Dougal, there's no reason that a software executive born and raised in America couldn't be named Amir Talai, right? And I think that's useful, right? For people to see people of different ethnicities, not just playing roles that have to do with their ethnicities, right? And that includes their character name, I think.
And with colorblind casting, I think we've moved past that, but it was an honest attempt, at trying to be more diverse. And I've been giving the example of Sex Education on Netflix. Go watch that if you guys haven't watched it yet. A British piece, and they do such an excellent job at just encompassing what the world looks like. I think it's kind of ridiculous to expect you have to see an Asian person, you have to see a Black person, like getting these stock. It turns into like stock characters. We're not looking for that. But what we're looking for is an authentic representation of the world, and not just seeing the world through one eye view. So when it's even color conscious, I hope we just get to a place of just seeing the world as what it is. And right now we do have to make an effort. So maybe it is the language of being color conscious and making that effort to put that in there. Or as Michelle was describing, making that effort because it needs to be written in the script. I remember Tanya Sriracha was talking about it for when she was working on one of her television shows, How to Get Away or Girls or something like that. And as she transitioned from theater to TV, when she realized, oh, wait a second, let me put in parentheses this ethnicity. Oh, now I have a Latinx person in there. In this time, we kind of need that, but hopefully we get to a place where we can get past that and we're just seeing the world as it is.
Yeah, I love the idea of writing the character as Juan and then putting in the stage directions could be changed to Middle Eastern or Asian or and let's play with that, right? Let's get different sort of perspectives, right? Great. Okay, we have a comment from Brandy Brooks. I'd love for casting to stop using the term ethnically ambiguous. They need to do the work on what exactly they are looking for. This doesn't feel good for me or anyone else, I'm imagining. Do you guys audition for ethnically ambiguous? I sure do.
Hello. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what I've seen is that they don't tend to, I see ethnically ambiguous on commercial breakdowns a lot more than I see them on theatrical. And I think what's happening is that commercial producers are trying to get people who might potentially represent different demographics that the product is aimed at. Right. So you're rarely going to be like, oh, he's an ethnically ambiguous store clerk in, 2.5 Men. That show's not on anymore. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know that it feels like they're being a little lazy. Is that how you feel, Michelle, when they do that?
Yeah. And I hear what the person who is asking this question, I get that. This is that moment, right? This is the tricky part, right? Because this is when the proverbial they, are trying to, let's say they're trying to embrace all of our differences, right? Like maybe they think they're like, we're shooting this commercial, whatever, and we definitely need to put some ethnic people in there, and I imagine like across the advertising table, they're like, black, brown, yellow, what do you guys want to do? Like they don't even know. And maybe that's their, their steps into being awoke, trying to be like, well, say ethnically ambiguous. They probably don't even realize, like many of the steps that have happened over the last, over centuries, that their actions are actually derogatory and dismissive of our individual ethnicity, because it's not ambiguous. I'm black and white. I'm German, Irish, Jamaican, Scottish. I could tell you what it is. But if you need to put a title on it, perhaps you're absolutely right. Perhaps there should be more thought in what those words are, so that we don't feel dismissed and lumped together. But I say that because we have to be careful, because we want them to be aware of the fact that they need to bring us in the room. We got to encourage them to find a way to say that. And it's kind of like back in the days, or it's not even back in the day, it still happens, when you went in for a commercial audition and you read your copy, and then the casting director is like tips toes and says, could you have like a little more, urban feel? You're like, oh, I see, you want me to sound black. So I think it's this way of trying to bring us all in without knowing exactly how to do that. And as we were talking prior to just starting, people are going to be messy. People are going to mess up, and they're going to make some missteps. But what our job is to inform them and educate them and enlighten them. So maybe if here in this moment, we can come up with a more empowering and seen word to encompass all of our yumminess. I mean, should we just, say, the Rainbow Coalition, let's bring in all of the, ethnicities, how about just any ethnicity would be helpful too, right? How about just that?
Right. Yeah. Like, does it have to be a confusing ethnicity? Like,
right.
Is that what we're looking for? Where we want to confuse people? Right. Just say open ethnicity, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, Allison, I'm coming to you right now. Let's see. Allison has her hand raised. And there you go. Hey, what's up, Allie?
Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm great. It's so nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Hi, Tiffany. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Katie. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for doing this. This is great. And as a white person, I want to thank you for being so patient with us. We have a lot to learn and a long way to go. I did want to talk about, and Amir probably knows what I want to talk about, but I did want to ask y'all about, I wanted to talk about the AFL-CIO. This big group that is, for those of you in the chat who don't know, is basically a big group of unions, and we are a member of this union and of this group, and the WGA East is a member of this group, and a whole bunch of other unions. And one of those unions in there, as y'all know, is the police union. And I hate them. A lot of us do. They have promoted racism for a long time. And I know that SAG put out, the top people in SAG put out a statement about it. I was personally not happy with that statement, because I felt like they kind of glossed over some real action there. And I personally would like to see, as I think a lot of other members of SAG would like to see, do what the WJA East did, which is say, hey, we're going to put our foot down and we want the IUPA out of this group because we don't want to be associated with these racist cops. So I was just wondering what we could do as members to help you all convince our top leaders that we don't want to be associated with this group.
That's great. Thank you. Yes, I'm so glad that you asked that question, because definitely we were planning to hit on this. So I love that you teed that up. Ladies, please. Thoughts on the statement on the IUPA. You know what? Before you even get to like what your thoughts were on the statement, why don't we just directly answer Allie's question? That if there are members who agree that that SAG-AFTRA should stand against the IUPA, which is one police union, not all of them, how would you recommend they encourage SAG-AFTRA to do that?
Right into our leaders. You can definitely do that. And when I tell you they are accessible, they will actually email you back. And that's the beautiful thing and the power of our union. And also, I don't know if many know, but these are volunteers. Gabrielle Carteris is not getting paid as a president at all. These are all volunteers, and we're volunteering our time as board members. So the accessibility of those who are at the forefront of putting out those letters, just shooting out an email, you can go onto sagaftra.com and be directed to whether it be an assistant or somebody for it to move forward, or even contacting us and saying, can you place this forward? Talking to any of your board members and of your delegates, as Amir is a delegate and he put this together. When the world opens back up, even also coming to the meetings that we have, the W&Ws, it doesn't address this particularly, but if you want to see something done, those are the places that you can see the faces of who might be speaking up a bit more in these leadership positions, and also have a chance to raise your hand and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. And and thank you for bringing this topic up, Ali, because it's amazing. I was looking at another, some forum on Facebook with union members, and there's also union members who said, I didn't vote for that statement to come out, So it's amazing. People show their colors. I won't say too much beyond that, but people show their colors. But ask for what you want and you will receive it. And I'm thankful for people asking for that with having SAG-AFTRA put out a statement, because it wasn't just, oh, maybe we should do this. There are people just like you, Ali, who said, I want more from this statement, or I even want a statement. And that's how the statement happened.
Yeah. I agree with exactly what Tiffany's saying. And truthfully, the writing to our representatives, to us, to, gathering of like, if you could even do a little petition, because that'd be really great to have the more numbers.
I think she can do that.
Just throwing it out there.
If I'm not mistaken, she did do that.
I do have a petition going. If anyone would like to sign, we do have a petition that we're going to present to SAG, to the top leaders, and say, hey, we do have some, voices who don't want to be associated with these guys. And I did also want to interject and thank you all again for volunteering your time, because you all kick ass and you're kicking ass for us. And I just want to say thank you.
Oh,
thank you.
That was kind. We did. I have to say, we did do almost with the 2 weeks prior to. I'm on the negotiating, but there was about 8 weeks of sitting in front of a Zoom. So everybody else was in quarantine. I was in quarantine Zoom hell. But,
if I can talk about what I think the point of the union statement was. Now, again, I'm not speaking for the union, but this is just my read on what that statement said. It said that SAG-AFTRA calls upon is it IUPA? The IUPA, the police union that's part of the AFL-CIO, which is 51 different unions. It's calling on them to make changes. And then at the very end, it says, or else lose the support of your fellow unions. Now, some could read that as a sort of weak ask, and some could read that as a veiled threat. I don't know what it was exactly, and maybe that's one of the failings of the statement. My hope is that SAG-AFTRA has never said anything about the IUPA ever, right? So now all of a sudden they're saying, hey, IUPA, you got to make some changes, and the changes are pretty simple. If you look at the ask, it's come together and talk with us and promise not to be racist. That's a pretty low bar, and I think it's interesting if they can't meet that low bar. That's telling, right? So another problem with the statement is it doesn't give a time frame, right? So meet with us and talk about this in the next 2 weeks. I would have loved to have seen that, and maybe that's implied, and maybe that's spoken behind closed doors. I can't speak to that, but certainly my hope is that whatever pressure the union is putting on the IUPA and the AFL-CIO, they're going to keep that pressure on. And certainly, Ali, I appreciate your petition, and I know that will help. So
yeah, and honestly, Amir, that's a really great point, because maybe with your petition, we can have another letter with a time frame. So look, we have this many of our members, and this is just scratching the top of how uncomfortable they are with this. In order for us to make this relationship as helpful as we hope that it can be, we need to sit down and talk now. That could really help.
Thanks again, Ali. Okay, let's move on to Ambrit Millhouse said, when I was self-submitting, I was told that all breakdowns are considered white unless it specifically says African American female. Those breakdowns pale in comparison to what is out there. She doesn't say how they pale, but I would hazard a guess as they pale in number and in quality. Is there any initiative out there that are encouraging producers to have more roles for us? And I don't know if us means African American women or people of color in general. But ladies, do you have any sense of that? If there's anything encouraging producers to have more roles for not just white people?
Well, I hope there's something encouraging, like maybe they're conscious. This is the tricky part of unions, right? Because SAG-AFTRA can't force anybody to do something. Like, we can't force people to write more roles for us. We can't force the stories of ethnic people to be told. We can shame them, and we can, individual as actors, and then as a strong number, we can voice our opinions through protests and what we're doing now. But I at least sitting on the board, I don't know that we have any kind of initiative to make them do anything.
Yeah,
I would hope during this time. I will say that because I'm old. I've been here for, I've been in this industry for 30 years, and I will absolutely say that the roles that have been open to me to explore possibly getting have begun to broaden, and that's as a woman of color and a woman of color of a certain age. I'm not, if any of you guys know any of my work, I'm not, only relegated to doing cops now. Back in the day, that was it. But I will tell you that I made a choice of doing that because I would rather have been the cop than the whore. And I wanted to make sure that this woman of color was representing someone strong and resourceful. But I have to say that there's definitely a shift in bringing in more stories of people of color and people of different ages. I do think that is actually happening. So that's my experience. What about you, Tiffany? Sorry, Amir.
I was going to say that, it's you want to think about the levers of power that the union has, right?
Yeah.
We negotiate contracts, right? And so what we can put in the contract is sort of better pay, safer conditions, et cetera. What is difficult to negotiate is quality, right? Is diversity, right? Which those often go hand in hand, right? Not always, but so I think that the market is putting a lot of pressure on people to write more diverse characters, more representative work, and we're still. I think there's more work that SAG-AFTRA can do, and personally, I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I'm definitely open to hearing thoughts on that.
And along those lines, because exactly that, like. SAG-AFTRA and its members, going with the theme, we are the union, that pressure can be placed on there, societal pressure can be placed on there, but there's they're not breaking a law, but what first came to my mind was that we're turning into a world where actors are producers, right? So especially when we're going into these places of transitioning into that place, whether it's an ultra low budget thing that you're doing with some friends, or onto our Regina King and Kerry Washington, those places, those are opportunities where actors can stand up for each other. When we lead by example, the trend, which should not be a trend, should just be, but that trend is going to continue. So that at least is a place where we can take some power back and do that. So hold your friends accountable who are making content. Everybody is making content. Hold your friends accountable when you're looking at those scripts or looking at the work that they're doing. And then as well, whenever we meet that Kerry Washington or whatever, that's another opportunity there because they're creating work on those higher levels where we can be the example and stand with them in that place.
And I think to that point, just the same way people have been talking about supporting Black-owned businesses the past month, suddenly a whole bunch of people care about supporting Black-owned businesses for the first time. You know, support people of color and their work, right? Go see a movie that, if you're a white person, go see a movie that feels like it's not made for you, right? Because guess what? It still could be very good, right?
And just on that, what Tiffany was saying, you know, I love that to remind all of us that we do have some kind of a voice, and that sometimes even, you know, we might not have a lot of power, but if we have a tiny little bit of power, we should try to use that. Like, you know, Michael B. Jordan having, you know, an inclusion writer, right? So he's asking that whenever he does a job, there's an inclusion writer. I have to say, my little Star Trek, you know, cast, we all kind of got together on a little Zoom and we were like, we need to do something. And we wrote to our producers and we were like, you know, we love you, you know, we're happy about our jobs, but we really need to do something as a group. And what I loved was that our producers wrote back and almost immediately and said, yep, you're absolutely right. In fact, we have created it's called the Star Trek Commanding Training Program. It's actually, that title was actually come from like a Star Trek episode. Starfleet has something called a Star Trek Training, but this is an actual thing that you can apply to, and it's an internship. And what we're trying to do, what they're trying to do, I guess I could say is that we want to embed individuals in every department as an intern, which you will also earn money. So it's not like a freebie. And we'll have you in the writer's room, the director's room, the wardrobe, the editor's suites, and including actors, so that you guys can get a 360-degree immersion into the world. So, you know, by asking that, we got that information. And what I love is that my little group were like, yay, and what else? And this is what we, you know, this is the thing. What else can we do? Because we want, yes, that's fabulous. What else can we do? And what we would like to do is to bring, you know, actual people of color in the room, in the writer's room, in the director's room, you know, behind the camera. You know, it's important for those who are in the room to reach out and bring more people in the room. Because as we all know, it's not just people of color. Our disabled individuals, our LGBTQ, GI, because there's more, are not being fully represented. And if we don't have advocates in the room to bring those people, they will continually be marginalized. But with those people in the room, the conversation, the perspective, the information broadens, and that therefore we will all be represented. So I think we put it upon each other to be a little brave and take a little bit of a stance and request to have more people in color on whatever job you get.
Oh, let me unmute you.
Sorry, the baby's crying, so I'm just in and out a little bit, Mayor. Thank you. Along with that, being brave, this is a little bit aside to this comment that was made or question, but also making space. I remember there was a script that came to me, and it was with somebody who was blind. So I was like, oh, and it said that she becomes blind. So I was like, well, maybe she becomes blind like, you know, halfway through the script or something like that. She became blind on page 3. I was like, why am I receiving this breakdown? If I am not somebody who is blind or disabled, I am not Mexican, I am who I am. Make space for those people to have a chance to go out for those roles. Sometimes we get a little hungry actors, and work comes our way. I can do it all. Anything. I remember the very first time I finally got to play a Black person. It was like, I was like, oh, this is acting. I didn't know that, like, I had never had the chance to infuse my personal history into a role that speaks for me. Yeah. So that's a place where we can also lift each other up and, you know, take some power back, make space for others.
I love that. All right, let's go to Malcolm Barrett. Malcolm, I'm asking you to unmute. I am asking you to start your video. There you are. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Hey.
What's up in there? Hey, what's up, guys? So I wanted to talk black hair. Yay.
Mhm.
So it is amazingly inequitable, the treatment of black hair in this industry, and the standard has not changed since the industry started. Literally every black actor I know, if they are not number one on the call sheet, and not just that, but been in the business for some amount of time, 5 to 10 years, they do not have someone on set who can do black hair, who can style black hair, who can cut black hair. Every actor I know, black actor I know, pays out of pocket. They go outside of the set. Or now that I've been, in this a little bit longer, I have to specifically request every single job that I have that someone has had experience cutting or styling black hair. I have to personally request this. This is not something that my white counterparts have to do. Every black person I know who works in Vancouver goes to junior. We literally all go to the same black person because this industry still has not accommodated that. I have an experience where I was in Canada, and so, it was the same thing of, okay, so you need a haircut, great, so we'll send you somewhere. And so they drove me somewhere to some barber that none of them had ever met, to a neighborhood none of them had ever been in. I waited for about 2 hours. In the midst of this, some sort of schizophrenic fight broke out, all sorts of things. I say this because I cannot imagine any of my white counterparts being driven to some random neighborhood to get their hair cut and possibly even still pay out of their own pocket. That's on our side. On the hairdressing and makeup side of it, when this happens, usually the heads of hair departments are white. And when they have a black cast member, they will ask one of their black subordinates who has experience in black hair to do my hair, to cut my hair. But what's interesting about that is that black hairdresser usually also knows how to do white hair.
Oh, of course.
Meaning that that person has a larger skill set than their boss as a whole in the industry. This is across the board. So there is an inconsistency on our side where we're not being served as actors. And there is a very specific racial inconsistency in terms of who is hired in terms of hair and makeup. I tell another story of how I had a recent job and I had to interview with my hair person because that's what I have to specifically do because they don't have anyone. I do this and it's simply cutting a fade. And it's an older white guy and he goes, I can do it. I think I can do it, but that's an ethnically specific haircut. All haircuts are ethnically specific theoretically. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. What I'm wondering is, how do we put pressure and how do we change this? Because this is a known problem. This isn't specific to me. It won't be specific to me after I lose my hair. It is for everyone across the board for generations to come and generations that have happened. A lot of times, I think sometimes white folks just don't know the difference. And we as black folks will watch some show that's predominantly white and we'll see some black person with the most fucked up hair you done seen in your life. And it is consistently done on high budgeted shows. The budget is there. So how do we change, one, the disparity racially, pay-wise for hair and makeup team? And how do we as a union put pressure in terms of having it be required that we have people that actually know how to do black hair? I know one reason that happens is because the requirement for hair, you don't need to go to barber school. Now, as a black man, the way that I get my shit done is from a barber. So literally, they are not required to do my hair as a setup. How do we change this?
So many things. Malcolm, yes. And honest to goodness, this was one of the reasons I became a board member of this particular issue. So we just had our W&Ws, and before that, we had, oh my gosh, Ryan.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to explain what a WW is. Do you want to say that or you want me to?
No, go ahead.
So the W&Ws, for anyone who doesn't know, are the wages and working conditions meetings that before the union enters into a renegotiation of any contract, they have a meeting with members and they say, okay, we're about to renegotiate the commercial contract. Let's have a wages and working conditions meeting about the commercial contract and see what you guys like about it, what you guys don't like about it. What do you want changed, and what might you be willing to give away so that we can do those changes, right? So sorry, you were talking about W.
No, that was great. And so right before that, we have something called convention, where our delegates and our board members from all over the United States come together and bring resolutions forward. As I said, this was one of my missions with becoming a board member for the very first time here in LA, is to bring this exact description, issue, Malcolm, hashtag solidarity about our hair, because it is a shame and it is ridiculous that it's still here. So I put a resolution forward for people of color to have proficient and qualified and experienced hairstylists and makeup artists on set. Now, from what I know, because I put that forward, it got passed. Michelle was one of the people that also wrote underneath it. Katie Von Till, who was on here, she helped me to make sure the wording was correct so that it would move forward. And the crowd went wild. Everybody stood, clapped. They're like, yes, why have we been waiting for this? But why have we been waiting for this? Because we don't have a lot of this representation on the board or in our delegates. I just want to note that. So if you're ever thinking about leadership, please stand for it. That's not just you, Malcolm, anybody that's on this or beyond. So what happens from there? It goes on to be discussed within the W&Ws. What I know, I don't know where it ended up on, because it did just get released. I don't know where it ended up for this particular theatrical negotiations and contracts, because there's a lot of different negotiations and playing back and forth when it comes to it. But what I do know from speaking to the EEOC in New York over this is that it was one of the top things that they were putting up high, where they said, this is something we need to do for our actors of color. Where it's at, I don't know, but at least you have some voices here who are fighting for you and for us when it comes to that. Another idea, and this actually came from Katie Von Till here on this call here, is us actually also directly going to IATSE, their own union, and talking about this issue, because it's something they're not aware of how bad it is. When I've spoken to other hair and makeup artists, they know, just like that man, whoever said that a fade is a ethnic cut. Right, exactly. They are not trained on our hair. They are literally not trained on our hair. And it's like, we're another human being. You're trained on hair, learn on hair. So there's a problem when it comes to that department of them not being prepared for us or not doing their due diligence. And instead of just hiring their friends, make sure they find somebody that can do our quality of hair. So many things that happen. But Malcolm, thank you for bringing these examples forward. When we do open up, it's things like these, when we have these examples that need to be said in front of our other leadership, to give examples, to make it the thing that's on the top of the list. It's up there, but all the support we can get from our people of color would be really helpful with it.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm allowed to say. Because this is something that we fought for very much for in the room and the negotiations. And Malcolm, I can't even, I mean, honey, look at this. Can you imagine what I fucking go through? I mean, it's insane. It's insane. I've had, you know what, we love your hair, but we're just gonna straighten it because it's better for the character. I mean, I've had every single thing.
I've seen the whole hair makeup teams fired for someone else.
For someone else. Hi, I know what you mean when you say for someone else. Absolutely, and not for this someone else. Exactly. You know, it's amazing. I did that film, Bad Hair, with Justin Simon. You know, the creator of Dear White People. And you know, I mean, it was the first time I felt so taken care of. The entire hair makeup trailer was black. You know, and you know, so much so that I even got like a head massage at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? Like and not just like one day, the entire time I was there, because it's bad hair. So they're like, each actor had like 3 different wigs. And every single time that wig was taken off, there was a massage, you know, all the stuff that people of color know that we need to sort of take care of our scalps and our hair and all that kind of stuff. But this is something that, I mean, I would say, because we did put it forward, because there's so much of in the negotiations, so much, it has been, I just don't know what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not allowed to say. It's been sort of allocated to a discussion situation where it's stuff that is going to be looked at again and brought up again. You know, it seems feeble, but it's there. It's in our in the contract
conversation.
Yes, it's in the conversation. Now, what I would say, which is the same thing I said about the other issue, is that it's absolutely up to us to speak on it and to demand it. You know, I finished my first season of Star Trek, and as soon as we wrapped, and I love all the wonderful people who are in my hair and makeup trailer. I love each and every one of them. God bless them. I love them. However, I said, I need to have a person of color in there. And I said to them, do you know why I need to have a person of color in there? Because I'm a person of color and I'm one of your employees. So you need to take care of me. And it's not a reflection on the other people. If they want to go learn how to deal with this hair, that's fantastic. But at the same time, since I'm in that room, I have the opportunity and kind of the responsibility to reach my hand out and bring someone else in that room. So I understand this. Tiffany and I, you know, during the convention, we both, and she's absolutely right. She brought that thing up. We stood up. Everybody was like, woohoo, yay. And what was amazing was choose my words nicely, was the blissful ignorance of an enormous amount of white people. Like they had no idea. They had no idea. And yet ethnic hair is always so interesting to them, right? They're always like, ooh, can I touch it? But they didn't realize.
I think what's really interesting about this is that, you know, we've spent the last, 5-10 minutes talking about hair, right? And I think that someone who maybe doesn't know might be like, what, like, this feels a little superficial. Like, is it that big a deal, right?
No, it's not. And I have to, I'm sorry, I know you're saying, I'm just going to jump in because I'm like, you know, almost every single, and Malcolm knows this and Tiffany knows this, almost every single Black actor I know, literally, either wakes up, especially actresses, either wake up 2 fucking hours earlier to do our own hair and our own makeup to go into set, or my brothers go to a barbershop and get their stuff done and have to either take it out of their pocket with the promise of a reimbursement. We love those promises. So it's because, you know, I don't know how to explain it to, you know, people who don't understand that this is different. This is a different type of hair, but it's gentle hair. It's delicate hair. It needs more attention of being, respectful to it than just blow drying it constantly and teasing it and doing the same thing that happens to white hair, predominantly white hair. You know, this is, it's a step in respecting, acknowledging, and embracing our heritage, period.
We come in as actors, you know, on set, all of us, any color, come in as actors onto set. We come prepared with our character. We know what we're going to do. Then we have the hair and makeup team who comes in to make sure that that character is represented in the way the makeup and the hair looks. The fact that my white brothers and sisters on this side can come in with their wet, dripping hair and walk out like Charlize Theron, and then I walk out look like Boo Boo the Fool is a problem.
There's Van Halen, this is maybe a weird story, but follow me for a second. Van Halen, what they used to do in their contracts is halfway through the middle of the contract, they would put must have green M&Ms in a bowl in the dressing room. And a lot of people thought that was because they were being divas, right? But really what it was if they got to the dressing room and they saw that there were no green M&Ms, it showed that the employer had not followed the contract, had not read the contract, had not done all of the safety issues that are necessary for Van Halen's show. And so for a Black actor, when you get to the set and you see, oh, they're not taking care of me in this part, it tells you they're not going to take care of me all day long. And that's a problem.
And that's
right? So it's definitely more about just hair, right?
You guys.
Okay, let's move on
Thank
from
you, Malcolm.
there.
Thank you for that.
Malcolm, thank you so much for that. And again, I want to circle back to what the ladies were talking about. This is about having more people of color in positions of authority in the decision, in the room where it happens, right? And so, yeah, we need a more diverse power structure all the way up and down Hollywood, all the way up and down our union. So if you are a person of color, if you think you want to get involved as a volunteer in the union, please do. We need you. Okay, next question. Yes, a bunch of people are saying the hair issue is also a makeup issue. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Danielle Ortiz says, we can provide lists, scores of ready and available men and women who can do black hair. I understand that part of the issue is what it takes to get into the makeup union. And that's sort of what the barrier for entry is there, particularly for Black stylists. Let's see.
Yeah, see, the hair and makeup issues, everybody's talking about it because it affects all of us.
Well, and just, this is the general thing, a lot of people hire their friends. I was top of the call sheet for this commercial. I had a 3-day shoot. We went to 3 different locations and they messed up my hair the entire time. And it was because they hired their friends. And then on top of that, they hired a special effects makeup artist to do my hair. That's the problem. It's because that was their friend that they decided to hire. So it's accountability on each other's parts. Quit just hiring your friends. Have the person who can actually do the job stand in there.
That's right. You know what's interesting?
Black people are special effects.
I know, right? We're special. Where the fuck did that happen? And it's also interesting, Tiffany, you just made me think because, we've taken it upon ourselves to take care of ourselves because we've experienced the opposite, right? We've experienced being like, I remember someone blowing my hair out saying, oh, it's just like another client I have who's white, and of course they did it. And by the time I got to set, it was so huge that the lighting department had to figure out how to light around it. It's ridiculous. We have to be, we're always going to take care of ourselves, but we have to be careful because they're getting used to us taking care of ourselves and making that, just sort of going, well, I guess you can do it yourself. And we need to make sure that the pressure is on so that they have to bring in people, people of color in the room, which again is when the actor says, I need to have that person and demand it. So, yeah.
Sorry, Danielle, I saw that your hand was raised. Is this still about hair? Because we should probably move on at this point.
Well, I will just piggyback, but that's not what my total comment is.
Okay, great.
I'll just say, in addition to the hair issue, the makeup issue, what ends up happening is we become deemed to be difficult to work with because then once we have a problem with hair and makeup and we speak out about it, we become the difficult ones on set. So then there's another excuse not to hire us. Yeah. And on top of that, then it's hard for me to perform my best because I don't feel my best. I don't look my best. So I just had to add to that, ladies. And
Thank
Malcolm,
you for adding that. Thank you for adding that.
Yeah. So mine is kind of like comment question. So I've been doing a lot of walking. I see Black Lives Matter signs everywhere, right? That's great. My question is, do we mean it? Because there's a lot of talk that's happening. The last time we spoke out about diversity issues in SAG, they gave us all ethnicities, right? So that was the next audition. All ethnicities are welcome. But then I turn on the television and they've hired a white person. Mm-hmm. I have even gone to auditions where they have written it for a Black woman and hired a white woman. And so I say to myself, this is all great. And no disrespect, I'm a little angry, just gonna be honest. So I just hope you guys can give me a little pass on this. No disrespect, I don't really wanna talk about the police union because we gotta fix our home first before we can go out and start determining who we should support. We're a mess, you know what I mean? I have gotten really fed up with being the token one-liner. Let's bring her in, she's Black. Let's have the one-liner, be the Black girl, because then we've hit our Black quota. I've gotten really tired of putting on my hair, my makeup, and we've already discussed Black hair does not take 5 minutes. I can't walk out the shower wet and let it dry until I get to the audition. I do all of this, and they say they're open to me, and yet they're really not. And so I'm wondering what kind of effective changes, not just we've changed it to include that they can come, we have made it so we have to audition so many Black people. Diversity is great, but I'm speaking specifically to Black people. I'm seeing projects where Black women are being replaced in the family by a white mother or a white wife. I am seeing just like, and I love my biracial ladies. You guys are beautiful. You are also Black, but there is also another version of Black. And so I'm just wondering what kind of conversations, since you guys have been in the room, are being had to really, really get to this issue. Not just the fluff of it, not just what sounds good, not just to appease us, but really some action that is going to change this, because I need to pay my bills too. I need to work too. I don't want to do just the co-star. I'm recurring on Insecure right now, which is great. It's been a great experience because they have Black hair and makeup artists, which is, I still came in with my hair done and they looked at me like I was crazy. They were like, girl, we're here, relax. So I just want some real change. And also one other thing, you don't just have to hire Black hair and makeup teams when there are Black people. Hire them because they're qualified.
That's right.
So those are my points.
Thank you, Danielle. So ladies, I'll start with y'all. What conversations have you heard in the boardroom? What do you feel is being done? And what more would you like to see done? I have my own thoughts, but please start.
Yeah.
I'll start.
This might not be the answer folks want to hear, unfortunately, but I think for the LA local, because that's where I'm at.
Me too.
We ain't in the room. We're not there. It brings me to tears because I was surprised at how many people were like, oh yeah, I guess you guys need that. But how are they supposed to know if we're not there? Now, I'm not saying that we're supposed to take over and we have to do everything. People got to be conscious of the fact that we're even here because they don't even see us. But also we have to see ourselves in those positions. And it's incredible. Like when I finally became more involved or even on the committees and then realized the access we have in economic access that we have, our voice, the vocal access that we have. But if I'm the only one there, my issue's not that important. I don't know how many board members we have. Is it 45? I want to say for LA.
Sounds about. I'm not sure.
How do I get on the board? Because I got a lot to say. I could also add dancers. It's cool for the white kids to do all the hip hop dance videos, but not the Black kids. Like that stuff is just. I'm really fed up with it.
Yeah.
And listen,
we need to have a woman of color in the dance department. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh well, my friends are.
You and Tiffany, please connect after this, and yes, run for you. Any paid up member is allowed to run for the board.
Yep,
so
that's right.
We'd love to have you run next
And
year.
I have to say the other thing of that is that what I would love for you to do, or anybody who's on this and experiences what you just specifically have said about something was written for this a person of color, and then they cast someone white, or the one line. We need to like amplify that producer, those people. We need to show them as egregious. Did you guys just see there was an ad for, I don't know, was it Adidas or some sneaker thing? And it was 3 women, and it was a white woman, a Black woman, and another Black woman. And they changed the picture of the third Black woman to a white woman and then put that up on the set. She got paid, but still, and you want to go, oh, no. Oh, no. It doesn't work that way.
No.
But she was able, because she put that on there, we were able to blast it and, make sure she was taken care of, as well as shame that company. So it would be, it's again, I hate the fact that look, we've been fucking working for 400 years, right? We're all striving continually for this fight. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, fortunately, whatever, we still got to do. We have more work. And that means calling people out when they do that kind of bullshit, amplifying it, and that way you can get the union behind us, because we can get behind that and be huge numbers and say these people are discriminating, changing ads when they're already, out. But, unfortunately or fortunately, again, I think that's the way we make change, is that we have to amplify, we have to shame people, we have to keep the pressure on, because again, sadly, the union, we can't.
That's the thing. I was going to say, there's only so much the union can do also, right? One of the big problems is the systematic inequality at every level of Hollywood, right? Yeah. You look at the every agent I've ever had has been white, right? Almost everyone in the agency is white. The vast majority of casting directors are white. The vast majority of producers are white, right? Mm-hmm. And part of that is the barrier to entry in Hollywood is a lot higher than people realize. And I've been talking about this a lot, right? At every stage, you have the people in hiring go, well, I just hire the best person for the job. I'm not racist. I just hire the best person for the job. Right. And yet, if everyone you're considering, everyone who's applying is mostly white, you have to wonder why that is, right? Yeah. And to my mind, part of the reason for that is that the bottom level is ending up being predominantly white. And why is that? Because you're not paying entry-level positions enough, right? Pay Up Hollywood, which is a movement that started last year, they did a study and they found that 80% of Hollywood assistants, right, bottom level, are being supported by their parents, right? And the vast majority of them are white, right? And it makes perfect sense, right? If the only way you can do a job is if you're being supported by your parents, then chances are you're going to be someone of privilege. Chances are, as a person of color, that's going to be more difficult for you, right? And so if all of the assistants are white, who's moving up to the next level? And who's moving up to the level above that and above that, right? So what needs to happen is at every level of Hollywood, we need to start paying bottom level assistants enough to live on, enough that they don't have to say to their Black mom and dad, hey, I'm gonna bring this guy coffee, can you pay my bills for 3 years? Or say to their immigrant father like me, hey, I'm gonna bring this guy coffee for 3 years, even though you paid for my college education, can you pay for another 3 years of my rent? They're going to say, hell no. Right. I can't or I won't, right?
Right. And so, even you spoke on agents, and I have to say this as well. I have had the first major African-American role on Mad Men, recurring on Jane the Virgin, and currently recurring on Insecure. And I can't get a decent agent.
What the fuck?
But somebody who is white, my white counterpart with significantly less credits than me will get CAA. And I'm like, I think that's also a part of the problem why we are offered one-liners, because they need the black face on there. So I totally agree with you. It's totally every level of systemic, I'm going to say racism. Absolutely. They don't know what it is. I think it's willful ignorance to not see that someone who can book these kind of jobs is going to be of value to you. I have a really great manager who does not see me as value. I'm not sure why. I booked 5 jobs my first year with her. So it's like everything is being done to suppress us, and I'm sick and tired of it.
Absolutely. And that has a lot to do also with the economic pay, right? That we don't get. So they'll put us in these jobs because they're not paying us as much, right? There's 2 series that I get jobs that I had gotten that when I had been talking to one of my white counterparts on that same show, like in some sort of, emotional moment of like, I need help, whatever, and found out that they, even though I had a longer time in this industry and had more series regulars or whatever, they were getting twice as much as me. Mm-hmm. Twice as much. Yeah. And girl, can I tell you, I had to do some fucking acting at the moment. She's sitting next to me crying because of whatever, and she's like, and I'm making it, and I sit there going, how is it? I was an originating character on this. This person come in later.
Yep.
The only thing that's different is that she's white and she's getting paid twice as much. So yeah, that's one of those insidious things as to why they will hire us and in these sort of like marginalized roles because they're not paying us. They're not paying us. And so that's the next battle, right? It's not even the next battle. It's been the battle. It's fucking been the battle.
And then my last point is,
We do have please make it fast, Danielle, because I want to get to other people.
I'll make it quick.
Okay.
I'm really frustrated that they interchange us diverse people. That's my last point.
Hear you.
Yeah, we all are. Absolutely. I'm not, again, nothing that SAG-AFTRA can do about that, but yes, we all feel you on that for sure. All right, let me go to, we've got some comments from Armando Valdez Kindi. Yeah, I'm not saying that SAG-AFTRA should tell the agencies who to hire and what to pay them. I'm just saying that I'm just sort of trying to paint the picture, right? Trying to say that, there's stuff beyond SAG-AFTRA's purview. Let's see. Armando suggests we talk to Dr. Michael Wood and Tim Williams in order to clearly develop and state our position. I'm sure that Gabrielle and David White are
on it,
consulting with whatever their position was. They didn't develop it in a vacuum, right? But yeah, definitely appreciate your input there. Let's see. Terry Walters has their hand raised. And Terry, we're running low on time, so as concise as you can make this, I would really appreciate it. I'm unmuting. I'm adding you into the room. Hopefully, there you are.
There I am.
Terry, hi.
Hi. So, hi. Thank you. Thank you, first of all. I just want to say, yes, Black Lives Matter intensely, superbly, and I think this group of people and actors are the most empathetic to the situation, knowing all the, even on a teeny level as a woman or being older, what we face in our business that's just so ridiculous. Like, you're too old for this, you're not pretty enough, all the shit that we go through. But this group of SAG actors were so powerful, and I agree, it's systematic. We've got to get to the top. We got to get to the producers. We got to get to the writers and say, please tell these Black stories. Like, when they see us is not enough. It was freaking awesome. But like, I think I don't know these things. I need to learn. I'm reading all these books right now, and I feel like, holy shit, I thought I wasn't a racist. And I honestly see how much I don't know. And I don't know so much. And so for me, it's like, how do we get to the producers and the writers and say, you need to tell stories that are diverse. You can't just put Blackish on and think, okay, we're all good. You can't just say, all right, I'm filling in with an Asian person here and a Black person there, and making the coffee manager a man instead of a woman instead of a man. I feel like we have, as a union, there's got to be some way we can speak up as a group and voices. We all want this. I want these stories. I want to know. I want to educate. I want to be a part of that. And I feel like I would love to see SAG do something that gets to the top, as opposed to talking among people who we all feel the same way. We want to support. But I feel like we're going to go in circles unless we figure out in our next contract how we hold the networks responsible, and not to meet a quota, to tell stories that matter, that are diverse, that are different. And I see, like in Netflix, all these shows that are doing that. Like you said, Sex Education and even Normal People, like all these, there's so much more evolved in Europe bringing over these shows that we just need to tell these stories. And I think we all need to demand that, like, not go in for pilots that are telling the same thing. And this, like, give us different shows, let us get writers. And I don't know. Anyway, I just needed to say that. I don't even know how to begin to do that, but I feel that is what it's like. They say that saying about the fish, starts at the head, starts stinking at the head. I feel like we need to do that to make a difference.
Thanks, Terry. Thank you.
I think getting noisy we have to be noisy. There's issues that we have been noisy on at SAG-AFTRA, and if somehow we can make this is one where we need to be going out with the picket signs as well and getting really noisy. And actually, I want to ask you, Michelle, since you did Time's Up, you know, for example, the LA Women's Committee was talking about creating a hashtag and getting noisy with, I don't know what the hashtag, it was going to be something like see her, hire her. It was going to be of that world, especially with the age disparity and with women and showing that women can play these different roles. Those movements have been working. You know, those hashtags have been working. So throwing this to Michelle, I hope you don't mind. Time's Up worked.
Yeah.
It worked because people got noisy. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we, you know, like I've said, you know, we pulled back the curtain. We shamed them. We literally said, you guys cannot get away with this anymore. I mean, what I loved about being part of the founding members of Time's Up is that, you know, we as actors utilize this platform to get the voice out, right?
Mm-hmm.
This vocation is not the only one that's suffering. You know, it's every single, like you even mentioned, women of a certain age. I can't even tell you how many women of a certain age are just being completely forgotten and ignored, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it is, I was literally just going to say, and this is all the same, it's just like the show, The Baker and the Beauty, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a Latinx show. One of my friends is on it, Carlos Gomez. It just got canceled. There's no reason for it to be fucking canceled. There's no show right now about a Latin family. Why is it canceled? Why did ABC cancel it? It's moments like this moment,
right?
People could rally. If people rallied, you know, sent in letters, emails, texts, tweets, whatever, and said, we want to see this. We need to see the representation of these brown people on television, period. We demand it.
I know.
That's how we make action. At this point, that's literally, you know, I love what you said about like, because could you imagine if we all saw scripts that came across our emails or whatever, and it wasn't, you know, telling stories about diverse things, and we all didn't go in? Could you fucking imagine that?
Wouldn't that be a great strike?
Honey, that would be amazing. Unfortunately,
yeah, let's strike against garbage.
Right, let's strike against garbage. But
crap. No more crap.
No more shit.
All Rise, thank God, got picked up.
But this is the thing. I think this is what has to happen, is that the shows that you see that are diverse, that are representative, that get one season or a half season and then canceled, we need to make our voices heard to say, we want to have people, we want to have stories of different cultures on television, on fucking network, network, because that network is in every household, you know, in America.
I think cable's doing way better on the issue than, I think some cable shows are doing so much better than our network group. And
network, it has to happen in network.
Yeah, that's what I think.
What I'm hearing from Tiffany and Michelle is that the noise that has been made, particularly like by a group like Time's Up, has made a difference. And I think what I am hearing and feeling, and correct me if I'm wrong, but SAG-AFTRA has been very focused on negotiating, right? Getting better conditions, right? But maybe what would be more useful in addition to negotiating is advocating, right? So you can't necessarily say we're gonna get in the boardroom and demand better stories from ABC. But what you can do maybe is to work with a group like Time's Up, but for representation, diversity.
Or start a committee.
Get people. Oh no, we have communities.
No, but I mean like a group of SAG actors that actually go to network TV and say, with powerful people, and say, we need to see a show that tells this kind of story. Or I don't know how we.
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. You know, it kind of it reminds me of this moment that we had. I shot a pilot, Cagney and Lacey, last year, and at one point when I was sitting in the makeup trailer, a PA came in. We had an older actor, you know, an actor of a different, you know, not the Time's Up era, and he said to the PA, "I want my makeup done in my dressing room." Right? I was sitting in the chair. Everybody knows I'm a Time's Up person, and the makeup person looked at me, looked at the AD, and went, "Oh no, Time's Up. You want me to do your makeup? Come in here." And what I loved was that the PA went, copy that, and just went out. There was no discussion. And literally that was because we have made Time's Up so iconic.
Thing.
Right, a thing. And like I've had friends who've done, on Broadway, who had a producer who like kissed her behind stage to try to make her feel, it was a ridiculous thing. A whole gaggle of us ladies showed up at that theater during rehearsal with just Time's Up t-shirts. Just stood there, and that was like,
Nice.
motherfucker, we see you. So I love this concept because, I mean, I don't, once again, it's difficult for us to force people to make better things, but wouldn't it be great if you could come up with some kind of a
I'm going to
moniker,
think about it.
something
Yeah.
that we could put on a t-shirt, like, better scripts, diverse stories, or
Tell us-
stop doing shit.
Tell
or
us
something.
other people's stories, please.
Right.
I mean,
All
you
right,
know,
thank you so much, Terry.
you're welcome.
just
No
have time-
worries. Thank you.
Thank you. A couple more questions. Someone wanted to know what kind of transparency is there in the selection criteria for volunteering on committees? I asked because I signed up to volunteer on a committee and I was not chosen, which is okay. But when I asked what kind of diversity criteria is considered in these decisions, the union told me geographic diversity. That's obviously not what I meant. I think that it's really important that we populate committees with in a diverse manner, right? And not just geographically, but ethnically, people with disabilities, sort of as many different viewpoints as we can. What's difficult is that the people who are committee heads tend to bring on people onto the committee who've served on the committee before, who they know have a sort of experience that fits that committee.
Yeah.
And so it does make it difficult for people who have who don't have experience sort of volunteering to sort of work their way in. So what I would suggest, if you want to work on a committee and you're having trouble, just find different ways to get involved. There's different volunteer opportunities. And if you ladies don't mind, I'd love to pull in Katie Von Til, since she has a lot of experience as a committee head, pulling people onto committees and so on. Katie, go ahead, please. Katie, if for anyone who doesn't know, is the chair of the National Commercial Performers Committee, and has been in union service for years now.
Yeah, just to speak on that, you'll notice when you sign up for committees, there is a place for you to write a comment. I've been pushing for a way for committee chairs to receive those comments. And as of my experience being a chair, I have not received those comments, but I'm working toward hopefully being able to get those comments. Because what happens so far is you get a giant list of people, everybody who has volunteered for the committee. And there are a lot of people on there that I will know, and there are a lot of people on there that I won't know. And so what I'll do is I'll start to Google them, honestly. So if you want to get involved and you haven't shown up for anything yet, what I would say is maybe start to make those things present in your social media. Try to find out who the committee chairs are to reach out to them, because there's only so much time I can devote to researching people. That being said, on my committee, I tried to get new people in, and I have, I put someone on the committee, never spoke to her, never met her before we put her on, but she came with a fantastic, she is a woman of color. She came out with a fantastic recommendation, and I was like, hey, great. She was recommended by a gentleman of color on the committee. I was like, great, let's bring her on. But you have to, the reason she was recommended is because she knew him, like she started to be vocal with him. So it's just about like starting to have conversations with people. So if you want to get involved, just start having these conversations and it will eventually sort of happen. But you really need to just start showing up. Look, 5 years ago, I wasn't present at the union, and now I'm the national chair of a committee. Right? It's just because I started showing up. I went to a town hall and that started everything. So you just need to show up. And if you do show up, make no mistake, we will make you stay and we will make you work on a committee. We will pull you in.
We want you. We want you.
Yeah. Even if it's a simple, thank you so much, Katie. It can be as simple as just attending a board meeting watching, waiting for the break and saying, hey, Tiffany, I just want you to know my name is John, and I'm looking for ways to be involved. Can I give you my number so that if you find some opportunity that maybe you can call on me, right? Like I have experience in stunts or whatever. There's the MOVE committee, the MORE committee in Los Angeles are great ways to get involved. Get involved. That's the way to end up on the board and on the committee, right? Is to do the stuff that maybe isn't as sexy, right?
And can I just add, like, I'm probably the newest one here. This is my first time, like, of the most involvement, first time running for a board position or for a delegate position. And what had happened was that somebody had approached me saying, we need more diversity, we need more youthful voices. And I said, okay. And then I started showing up to certain events. I also contacted a bunch of board members and called people and asked, like, why are you on the board? What are you doing? I had been going to Next Gen, just the parties and such like that. So, but just those little, taps, like just made me kind of start circulating where I was at least recognized then to come to this point. So, yeah.
Okay, well, we only have a couple minutes left, so I'm gonna cut off the questions, but I will say this: all of the questions that have come in via chat, we have them. We're holding on to them, and all of the feedback that you've given us, we have, and this is something for us as leaders that I'm gonna email this to Michelle and Tiffany so that they can see what people were talking about, and we're gonna hold on to this, right? This is really useful information. If we didn't get to your question, I'm so sorry. I'm honestly overwhelmed physically and emotionally by the number of questions. So this has been awesome. So to finish up, before I open it up to the ladies, if you have anything you want to add at the end. Everyone who's watching, I have a couple favors to ask of you. I would love some feedback on this live stream, right? We've sort of just started doing this, and last time around, like no one got on video, and this time around, a bunch of people got on video, and sort of let me know what you thought of this. Give us your feedback so that we can continue making this as useful as possible for members, right? Was it too long? Was it too short? What should our next live stream be focused on, if anything? Maybe it shouldn't be focused on one thing at all. This is a good time of day, bad time of day. Do you prefer Zoom? Do you prefer YouTube? All of that, okay? Just put that in the chat box and we'll hold on to it. And then the second favor I have to ask is go on your social media and let your people know that you just watched this unofficial live stream, right? Let them know what you thought. Hopefully you found it productive. Hopefully you found us receptive and engaging. But if you didn't, feel free to share that too, and tag us or don't tag us, or, say you are the union or we are the union, unite for strength, whatever. I don't care about any of that. What I really want is for people to know that while our union activities, our official union activities right now are mostly restricted to essential business, which is contracts and safety and negotiations, there are still member leaders like us who are doing what we can to connect with and represent our fellow members, okay? You are the union. So, if you want to get more involved, feel free to hit me up on IG. I'll see what I can do to get you more plugged in or connected to someone who can get you plugged in. We are the union, right? So yeah, that's all I had to say at the end there. Michelle, Tiffany, anything you want to say at the end here?
Yeah, Amir, thank you for putting this together. Thank you for being like, yes, we can do this when I brought this to your attention. And my biggest thing was that we're seeing a lot of letters about BLM. We're doing these think tanks. We got to be active though as well. And I feel like one thing that came up here was just getting involved. Really, we are the union, and showing up at these meetings so that it's just not myself and Michelle or whoever else in the room, that's uplifting these ideas. You guys have such great ideas. So let's put that into action. I want to be out there with picket signs saying, hey, producers, you guys got to do better with scripts. So we're seeing the world. So let's continue to activate this and not just allow it to be a conversation.
Absolutely. Yes, I echo that. And like Amir said, we are all the union, everyone here. So, you know, it takes all of us. And for those of you who don't know me, when I'm in the room, I'm very loud, I'm very strident and strong, and I will fight as I have every time I've sat on these boards for our rights, for all of our rights. I love the things that you guys have said. I'm literally going to go back to, you know, our president and say, you know what, we need to like reevaluate how we bring in committee members, because we need to actually look at an overall and make sure that people are represented. And again, I mean, people of color, LGBTQ people, disabled people, different ages, everybody should be in the room on these committees. And I thank you guys for saying this, because it awoke in me. I didn't realize that there was a disparity in that. And again, you know, step up. You know, it's scary, but there are more people behind you than you realize. When you feel that there's been some kind of egregious situation set against you, especially because of your color, step up, speak out, stand up. You're not alone. I'm there with you. Give me a call. I'll come up. I'll have a t-shirt saying whatever the fuck you need it to say. But I thank you. And Amir and Tiffany, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. And I really appreciate this moment in time with you guys.
All right. All right. Couldn't have said it any better. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to leave this open just for 1 second because I need to talk to Jen, but everyone else can go. I just want to make sure. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Goodbye.